Welcome to the deep dive. Ready to tackle something massive?
Always up for a challenge. What have we got?
The entire lifespan of Earth.
Okay, shooting for the stars. I like it.
But we're going to make it manageable.
How so?
We're fast-forwarding the whole thing.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Imagine it's all squeezed into a single 24-hour day.
All right, so Earth's whole history in a day?
Yep, we're going to see it all unfold from molten rock to, well, us.
That's one heck of a time lapse.
It really puts things in perspective, right?
For sure. Helps us grasp the sheer scale of it all.
So it's midnight on our Earth Day clock.
Look to go.
And bam, Earth bursts into existence.
Cue the dramatic music.
But for the first, say 45 minutes,
What's happening?
it's chaos, pure chaos.
Like, what kind of chaos are we talking about?
Think molten lava, asteroids constantly bombarding the surface.
Sounds like a pretty rough start.
It wasn't exactly a welcoming environment back then.
Understatement of the year.
Seriously, you almost wonder if early Earth had a sign up.
A sign? Like what?
Welcome. Conditions are terrible. Enter at your own risk.
That about sums it up. The Hadean Eon.
The Hadean Eon.
That's the official term for this early period.
Right. So it had an official name, even though nothing could really live there.
Well, the rocks were certainly alive and kicking back then.
Good point.
But seriously, it was anything but hospitable.
You're not kidding? Scorching temperatures, a toxic atmosphere, and those constant asteroid impacts.
The surface was volatile, to say the least.
It makes you wonder how anything could survive, let alone thrive, in those conditions.
That's the beauty of life. It finds a way.
So true, it's almost like a magic trick.
In a way, it is.
So around 45 minutes into our Earth Day.
Hold on, things are changing already.
Yep, something incredible happens.
Let me guess. The chaos calms down.
Not quite, but it's a step in the right direction.
Do tell.
Those same asteroids that were pummeling the planet,
Those unwelcome guests.
they start delivering something crucial.
What's that?
Water.
No way. Those destructive things brought water.
Yep, oceans begin to form.
That's a bit ironic, isn't it?
It is, right? Almost like the universe had a change of heart.
It's like, all right, Earth, my bad about all the fire and brimstone. Here's some water. Try not to break it this time.
Exactly.
But even with the oceans, it wasn't exactly paradise, right?
True, they were still pretty toxic.
I can imagine, full of all sorts of nasty stuff.
Think heavy metals, a real primordial soup.
So not exactly the kind of ocean you'd want to go for a swim in.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets even more fascinating.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Those heavy metals didn't just pollute the water.
They didn't?
Nope, they actually played a key role.
A key role? In what?
In creating a protective shield for Earth.
What? You're telling me those heavy metals were actually helpful?
You better believe it, as the Earth cooled and solidified.
Right, so things are starting to calm down a bit.
These heavy metals, mainly iron and nickel, sank towards the center.
Which was the Earth's core.
Exactly. And as they sank, they formed the molten core.
Okay, but how does that create a protective shield?
This process, the sinking and the formation of the core, it generated electric currents.
Electric currents.
Huh.
And those formed.
A magnetic field.
A magnetic field. Wow.
Think of it like a giant force field protecting us from the sun's radiation.
So we owe our existence to heavy metal waste.
Pretty much. It's like a cosmic recycling program, turning trash into treasure.
That's one way to look at it.
And speaking of things we owe our existence to, let's talk about the moon.
Ah, our celestial neighbor.
We don't know exactly how it formed, but it's been around since the early days.
It has. So even in those chaotic early stages, the moon was there.
Hanging out, playing a pretty important role.
What role was that?
Well, its gravity created massive tides in those early oceans.
Tides. How did that help?
Those tides churned up the oceans, mixing all those essential ingredients for life.
Interesting. So the moon was like a cosmic chef.
I like that. Stirring the primordial soup, making sure everything was blended just right.
And what did this cosmic cooking produce?
Around 1:00 a.m. on our Earth Day clock,
So just an hour after things have calmed down a bit,
life pops up.
life already.
Yep. Simple, single-celled organisms.
Wow, that's pretty quick considering what the conditions were like just a little while ago.
I know, right? Life doesn't waste any time.
And what were these early life forms like?
They were using RNA, not DNA, as their genetic blueprint.
RNA. So not the full genetic package yet.
It's like they went with the beta version first.
A test run.
Yeah.
Before upgrading to the full software.
Exactly. But even in this early form, life was incredibly resilient.
It had to be to survive those early conditions.
And it didn't stop there. Around 2:00 a.m., things got even more interesting.
Oh. What happened then?
Life made a significant upgrade.
What kind of upgrade are we talking about?
DNA entered the scene.
DNA, so the full genetic code was online.
You got to think of it like switching from handwritten notes to a computer.
Much more stable, much less prone to errors.
Exactly. DNA provided a much more reliable way to store and transmit genetic information.
And that paved the way for more complex life forms, right?
You bet.
What a game changer.
It was. Things were really starting to pick up pace.
So what happens next in this evolutionary saga?
Well, things were about to get a lot more dramatic.
Dramatic in a good way or a bad way?
You could say both, actually.
Oh, that sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
At around 3:00 a.m. on our Earth Day, we have the rise of a new player.
A new player. Who might that be?
Cyanobacteria.
Cyanobacteria. I'm not familiar with those.
They're also known as blue-green algae.
Algae. Interesting.
These little guys were like tiny oxygen factories.
Oxygen factories.
They produced oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis, so they were harnessing energy from the sun.
Exactly, but here's the twist.
There's a twist.
Oxygen, the very gas we breathe.
I'm sensing this isn't a good twist.
It was toxic to most life forms back then.
Toxic, wow. So the very thing that sustains us now was a poison back then.
Yep, it was a real turning point, the Great Oxidation Event.
The Great Oxidation Event.
Yeah, it led to a mass extinction.
Wow. So oxygen, a life giver, and a life taker.
It's a strange paradox, isn't it?
It is. Nature can be full of surprises.
You said it. But even though it caused a mass extinction,
This Great Oxidation Event?
it also paved the way for the evolution of oxygen-breathing organisms.
Like us. So in a way, we owe our existence to those tiny oxygen factories.
We do. It's a reminder that even the most disruptive changes.
Can lead to new possibilities.
Exactly.
So oxygen, initially a pollutant, becomes the breath of life.
And the story of Earth continues to unfold.
But just as life was getting used to this new oxygen-rich environment, things took another dramatic turn, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they sure did. Buckle up,
Yeah.
because things are about to get chilly.
Chilly. What do you mean by chilly?
Well, let's just say Earth decided to try out a new look.
A new look. Okay, now I'm really curious what happened next. Around 5:00 a.m. on our Earth Day clock, things get really interesting.
Interesting how.
The planet plunges into a deep freeze.
A deep freeze. Like, how cold are we talking?
A global ice age?
A global ice age. Whoa.
Yeah, picture this, the whole planet covered in ice.
That's kind of hard to imagine.
It's called a Snowball Earth scenario.
Snowball Earth. Okay, that's a pretty dramatic image.
It was triggered by, well, a few things happening in the universe.
Like what?
Galactic collisions, supernova explosions.
So, events far beyond our planet caused this.
They played a role, yeah.
Wow, it's incredible how interconnected everything is.
It is. It's like a chain reaction across vast distances.
So, Earth is locked in ice?
For a time, yeah.
You'd think that would be it for life, right? Game over.
You'd think so, but life is full of surprises.
What happened? Did it survive?
It did more than survive, it thrived.
Thrived? How is that even possible?
This is where we see the first multicellular organisms appear.
Multicellular, you mean more complex than those single-celled guys?
Exactly, those single-celled organisms faced with this extreme cold.
They had to adapt or die.
And adapt they did. They started cooperating.
Cooperating. Like how?
They began forming more complex structures, joining forces to beat the cold.
So the first multicellular organisms were born out of necessity.
You could say that. It's the original power of teamwork.
Amazing how life finds a way to innovate even in the face of extinction.
It's a testament to its resilience and creativity.
And this paved the way for even more complex life to evolve.
It did, but it took a while.
How long are we talking about?
Well, on our Earth Day clock, it's not until around 10:30 a.m. that things really start to get wild.
Dude, 10:30 a.m. So life was pretty chill for a long time after the Snowball Earth.
Relatively speaking, yeah.
What happens at 10:30 a.m.?
The Cambrian Explosion.
The Cambrian what?
Explosion, it's this incredible period of rapid evolution and diversification.
So basically, life decided to throw a party.
Uh-huh. You could say that.
What was so special about this Cambrian explosion?
Well, most of the major animal groups we know today emerged during this time.
That's a lot of new life forms in a short amount of time.
It was a burst of evolutionary creativity, a real turning point.
And we're talking about, like, dinosaurs and stuff.
Not quite dinosaurs yet, but their ancestors were starting to appear.
So all the cool creatures we know and love trace their lineage back to this Cambrian explosion.
Many of them, yes.
And here's a fun fact for our listeners.
Hit me with it.
All land vertebrates, including us humans.
We're vertebrates, right?
Yep, we are.
So where are you going with this?
We're all descended from bony fish that evolved during the Cambrian explosion.
Bony fish. You're telling me our ancient ancestors were fish?
Yep, think about that next time you're having sushi.
I will never look at a fish the same way again.
Uh-huh. It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
It does. We've come a long way from those humble beginnings in the Cambrian seas.
Millions of years of evolution all leading to us.
It's a grand narrative, full of twists and turns.
And some pretty dramatic setbacks along the way, too.
You're talking about the mass extinction events. The
No.
mass extinction events, those times when a huge percentage of life on Earth was wiped out.
Oh, yeah, I'd forgot about those.
5 major ones, to be exact.
5. That's a lot of near-death experiences for life on Earth.
It is. Each one drastically changed the course of evolution.
What caused them?
Different things. Asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, rapid climate change.
So a whole mix of cosmic and earthly events.
Exactly. Each one devastating, but also creating opportunities.
Opportunities. How so?
They wiped the slate clean, allowing new life forms to evolve and flourish.
So it's like a cosmic reset button, pressing restart on evolution.
That's a powerful analogy.
And through it all, life just keeps adapting, finding a way to bounce back.
It's truly remarkable. Its resilience knows no bounds.
But even with all these setbacks, life kept evolving, eventually leading to us.
to humans, the self-proclaimed rulers of Earth.
Well, we like to think we're in charge.
But on our Earth Day clock, our arrival is a pretty humbling moment.
How so?
It's not until 11:59 p.m. that Homo sapiens show up.
11:59 p.m. So we've only been around for like a minute in Earth's history.
Less than a minute, in the grand scheme of things.
Wow, that really puts things in perspective.
It makes you realize how much happened before we even existed.
And in that short amount of time, we've managed to make quite an impact.
You could say that, both positive and negative.
Speaking of negative impacts, some scientists believe we're in the midst of another extinction event.
The 6th mass extinction.
This one caused by us.
Driven by human activity, yes.
That's a sobering thought.
It is. We have a lot of responsibility for a species that's only been around for a cosmic minute.
So what happens next? After midnight on our Earth Day clock, what does the future hold?
That's a question with many possible answers, some more optimistic than others. Well, if we keep going with our Earth Day clock, we have to start looking beyond midnight.
Beyond midnight, so past the 24 hours.
Yeah, like what happens after the 24 hours of Earth's history are up?
It's like asking what happens after the end of a movie.
Kind of, but in this case, the movie is still going.
Right, because the Earth doesn't just disappear at midnight.
Exactly.
So what does happen?
Well, things get a little, well, interesting, to say the least.
Interesting in a good way or a bad way?
It depends on how you look at it.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give it to me straight.
All right, so about 400 million years from now.
400 million years. Wow, that's a long time.
It is, yeah. But on our extended Earth Day clock, it's just after 1:00 p.m.
Okay, so just past lunchtime on day 2 of Earth's existence.
Carbon dioxide levels will have dropped significantly.
Carbon dioxide, the stuff plants need to survive.
Yep. And it'll have dropped so low that plants won't be able to survive anymore.
No plants. Does that mean no more salads?
Haha. Well, that's one way to look at it.
But seriously, that sounds like a pretty big deal.
It is. Without plants, the food chain collapses.
The food chain. So everything that eats plants.
And everything that eats those things, and so on.
It's like a domino effect.
Exactly. Most life on Earth would vanish.
Wow, okay, that's definitely not good news.
And it doesn't stop there. About 1.5 billion years from now,
Things get even worse.
you could say that the Earth's core will cool completely.
The core cools down. What does that do?
Remember how the molten core creates our magnetic field?
Right, that protects us from the sun's radiation.
Well, when the core cools, the magnetic field shuts down.
So no more protection from the sun.
Pretty much, the solar wind will strip away our atmosphere and water.
So Earth basically turns into a barren wasteland.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay, maybe we need to start thinking about a backup plan.
That might not be a bad idea.
But even with all these challenges, life on Earth has been incredibly resilient.
It has. It's amazing what it can adapt to.
Who knows, maybe some new, totally unimaginable life forms will emerge.
Able to thrive in those harsh conditions.
It's mind-boggling to think about.
But even if that happens, there's one final hurdle that life on Earth won't be able to overcome.
Let me guess, the sun.
You got it, around 4.5 billion years from now.
So midnight on a whole new Earth Day clock.
The sun will enter its red giant phase.
A red giant, what's that?
It'll start to expand, growing much larger than it is now.
And what does that mean for Earth?
It'll engulf the inner planets, including Earth.
So that's it, game over for sure this time.
The grand finale. The end of Earth's story.
It's kind of sad, but also amazing to think about.
It is. The scale of it all is just incredible.
It makes you realize how precious our time on this planet is.
Absolutely. It's a gift.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
From the fiery birth of Earth to its eventual demise.
We've seen life emerge, evolve, face extinction, and find new ways to thrive.
It's been a wild ride, that's for sure.
But even though we've reached the end of Earth's story,
There's still so much out there to explore.
exactly, this deep dive has just scratched the surface of the vastness of the universe.
And the mysteries it holds.
So to our listener, we leave you with this.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep that sense of wonder alive.
Because who knows what incredible discoveries await us out there.
The universe is full of possibilities.
And that's what the deep dive is all about.